Hi guys, I started the recording also and let's start the class. It's the same class that we did this morning, and what happened all of a sudden, two people, three people got offline. Or शब्बीर आप तो हो ना?
जी, जी, मैं हूँ।
हाँ,
अस्सलाम वालेकुम।
वालेकुम सलाम। पता नहीं ये लोग ऑफलाइन क्यों हो गए? ओह, आई थिंक दे केम बैक. हमजा, जुनेद, उमेर, आर यू गाइस अगेन इन?
जी।
क्या हुआ था, इंटरनेट
Yeah,
चले गया था क्या?
yeah, there's internet problem,
हाँ,
I guess.
ओके, चलो छोड़ो, राइट लो. ओके, तो चलो, let's start the class. Let's start this slide. So I'm going to start with this. Shabir, I think you also never had a chance to look at this.
नहीं मैंने नहीं देखा ये।
Right. So guys, we have Shabir in this class. He has an working experience. He did one project with us before, and he successfully completed one project, and we are looking for the other project for him. And in the meantime, he's also taking a small training in Linux and Hyper-V. So let's start with the basics of servers. So I want to tell you, I mean, you already had a class before with Venkat, but still I want to start my class from this session to give you the basics and then go into Hyper-V and then go into Linux. Okay. I have a server which is Dell. Let me put a name here. It's called Power Edge EDGE uh 6950. It's Dell PowerEdge 6950. So every server, laptop, or a computer consists of CPU, memory, and hard drive. So same thing, you will find it in a server. You will find CPU, memory, and hard drive. It requires all this. Only thing is, it's in large quantity. So you know what is central processing unit is. CPU is used to process any requests that are created by the operating system. So whenever operating system needs something to process, it goes to CPU and CPU take care of it and process the request. What is a RAM? So RAM is used to store and maintain processes from an operating system. So whenever you are doing anything, suppose you are turning on the operating system, the desktop what you are seeing is actually is in the RAM. So when you open a computer or a server, the operating system gets loaded in the RAM and gives you the output, because RAM is the speedest memory. It saves and stores very fast compared to hard drive or any other storage. Hard drives. Hard drives are used to store information such as operating system data. Whatever you store in a hard drive, like a songs, like movies, whatever you store, it goes into hard drive. And when you try to listen to it, so you click on it, it loads in RAM, and then you can listen to it. Okay. So when you see here in the box, you see this these are the RAM slots, right? When I do this, it got expanded, right? So these are the RAM slots, and in a server, in my server, we have 16 slots. These are only two, but in my server there are 16 slots. Hard drives. So let's see memory in detail. The reason memory cannot be avoided is because hard drives are slower than the memory. As I said before, memory is the fastest one. Hard drives are very slow. So hard drives um, are cylindrical things which runs as 54,000 RPM hard drives or 72,000 RPM hard drives. But a memory is an electronic device. I mean, if you see a RAM, it's an electronic device which saves the data. So it's more fast. It's very fast compared to hard drive. A typical memory bus bandwidth for physical memory is around 48 gigabytes. That is 6 GB per second. It can migrate transfer the data that is 6 GB per second, while the standard hard drive speed is around 800 to 1024 megabytes. MB, they still work in MB. The transfer rate is when you copy something. Observe when you copy something, how much speed it gets copied. What is DMA? Direct memory access. DMA allows hardware such as disk, graphic cards, network cards, etc. to access memory and CPU independently. Unlike previous generations of hardware, when hardware had to access a CPU directly first before they can access memory. DMA assisted in handling concurrent processes at a time because the processes would queue up in the memory and get processed in CPU, and the result is then returned to the operating system. Any process from the operating system has to come from, okay, any process in a computer has to come from an OS. Suppose, let's see, you are clicking on a song to listen. You click on a song. How are you going to access a song? You will open a laptop, and what comes in front of you is a operating system. In an operating system, you go to a particular drive. How are you going to a particular drive? Because you have an operating system which is taking you to that drive. Okay, so operating system. And what is a drive? It's a hard drive, hard disk, storage. So from OS to you're going storage. In storage, you click on it. On your D drive, you click on a song. In seconds, the bus from hard disk to memory, it takes a song loaded into memory. The full songs get into the memory, and then it goes to CPU, then to memory and to OS, and it shows you on the screen. OS, hard drive, memory, output. OS, hard drive, memory, then output, and you can listen to it. Whenever you are doing a calculation, suppose you are doing a calculation like a 2 into 2 equal to 4. You're doing it in OS, and 4 goes to memory, get calculated in CPU. In memory, they stay there so that when the CPU gets time, then they calculate it and then put it back to memory and give you the output. Now let's see what exactly the operating system is. Operating systems manage server hardware and define various tasks that are required to be processed by CPU. So this is the main use of operating system. It manages the hardware and define various tasks. I mean, in a computer, there are so many things going on simultaneously. Some user is accessing something, some user is working on something, some user is reading an email. So this is all getting done by the operating system. He's the only one who is handling everything. The operating system manages server hardware and define various tasks that are required to be processed by CPU, and the output result is either displayed on the screen or stored in a memory or hard drive. Depends what exactly we want. There are various types of enterprise operating systems currently available in the market. Kernel. very important topic. Kernel is the heart of an operating system. So whenever we turn on the operating system, kernel gets loaded into RAM and stays there till the operating system is running. Once the operating system is shut down, the kernel is gone. So kernel is the one who sends or receives the signals. So kernel is the heart of the operating system, and kernel sends instructions or codes that need to be compiled and or processed. So let's see kernel in detail. The heart of the operating system is the kernel. The kernel usually resides in the memory for faster accessibility. Kernel has all the programming languages, information that a process and applications need to run. So a very good example I can give you here is whenever you connect any hardware like a pen drive to your laptop directly, if you see here in the taskbar just before your calendar, you will see that something is attached, and chao bhai, something got attached, and it's downloading the drivers by itself. How is it happening? Who is the one who is detecting that there is something, a new hardware has been attached? If you ever use 2003 operating system or Windows XP or Windows 2000, I mean these operating systems are not available anymore, but if you ever use them, you will not get this option. Whenever I used it, so I experienced it by my own. If you plugged a pen drive or a hard drive or anything or a printer or a mouse, you have to download or install the drivers for it. So usually when we used to buy a keyboard or a mouse back in the days in 90s or in 2000, early 2000, we when you go and buy a keyboard or a mouse, it comes along with a CD of drivers to install it. But now it's just plug and play devices. You just put it in, kernel identifies it and installs the driver and let you use it. That's it. So let's see the kernel once again. The heart of an operating system is the kernel. The kernel usually resides in the memory for faster accessibility. Kernel has all the programming languages, information that process and applications need to run. Kernel act as a bridge between the software and the hardware layer. So this is where the kernel is. This is the application. CPU, memory, and device are connected to the kernel. So when an application like an SQL, like a database, if it need to access something or has to calculate something, the application request goes to kernel, and kernel now it will go to memory. If CPU is available, it goes to CPU. If CPU is not available and there is some calculation going on in the CPU, so it goes to memory and stays there until the CPU is free, and then goes to CPU, get work done, go back to kernel, go back to application. Static versus dynamic kernel. So static is monolithic and microkernels. Monolithic is no more used. Right now, all the latest operating systems are coming with microkernels. The monolithic are the drivers are built in the kernel. So all the drivers. So suppose static kernels are very large memory footprints. Yes, it has to be because uh, there might be about 100 vendors who are making their own keyboards and mouses. Like there are HP, LG, I mean Microtech. There are so many vendors who make their own keyboards and mouses. So whoever makes their own keyboards, and there are different style of uh, keyboards, different style of mouse, different style of printers, pen drives. So there are hell lot of companies who make all this, and every company has their own driver, that how this device is going to work if you connect it to a computer. So everyone has their own driver. Now a monolithic kernel means that all drivers, comparatively all from all over the world, are to be in the kernel. So definitely if you have that many softwares in the kernel, your footprint will increase. I mean, your software is going to be about 8 GB of software. Why? Because you have LG drivers, you have Microtech drivers, you have Intel drivers, you have LG drivers, RCA drivers. You have so many drivers. Now you have these drivers for mouse, for keyboard, for pen drives, for printers. So definitely the footprint will be, it's going to be a larger footprint. But if you see what the microkernels are, drivers are linked to the kernels where the hardware is attached. It's not in the kernel, it's linked to the kernel. Dynamic kernel has a very small memory footprint. Definitely. Why? Because all the drivers are still there, but they are connected to it. They are not installed. They can get installed whenever it's needed. So they are not in their footprint is small. Static versus dynamic kernel part 2. Static kernel has all the drivers built in to the kernel, which makes the static kernel memory footprint very large. Currently, there are no static kernels in use to date. This used to be back in the days, but now there are no such operating systems which uses static kernels. All the modern operating systems are packed with microkernels, which links all the drivers using .dll, dynamically linked libraries. It's You can make a note of this. .dll means dynamically linked libraries. Whenever you open a desktop or anything, what you see in front of you in the backend, .dll files are actually supporting it to show you. So there are few hundred files, .dll files. Because of that, you see an Explorer, you see a D drive, you see an E drive. So .dll file in Windows, and the same thing is called shared objects .so in Unix or Linux platform. So these are the enterprise operating systems. Before I start this, I just want to know, are you able to understand everything, or do you have any doubts? Guys, do you have any doubts? No one has any doubt?
Yeah.
Okay. So enterprise operating system. So these are the server operating systems which are used in the server. So if I write it correctly, this is just a minute. Microsoft Windows 2008 is in use. 2003 was the one who Microsoft has stopped giving support last year. So that operating system is now obsolete. 2008 is also obsolete, but Microsoft is still supporting it. So the new operating systems what in the market right now is 2008, 2008 R2, very less 2008, and comparatively less Windows 2008 R2. The latest are 2012, 2012 R2, 2016. The 2016 is still under testing by the company, but it has been released by the Microsoft, and people are testing it to implement it. Okay, so here is the Red Hat Enterprise Linux 5X. So you will see, I mean, it. I also saw 4.5, but you will not see it much. Right, right now, you will mostly see 5.5, 5.1, 5.2, 5.3, 5.4, like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 5.12, and then it switched to 6. After 12, you will not get anything. And then 6.1, 6.2, 6.3, 6.4, 6.5, 6.10, 6.11, 6.12, and then 7.x. So right now, the most latest one in the market is 7.3. There is a good difference between 6 and 7. Even the command structure has been changed. So we will discuss that while we are working on Linux. So uh, the similar goes with Oracle Enterprise Linux. It is also the most latest one is 7.3, but usually companies are still using 5.5 or 6.5 a most. VMware EXXI. This is a VMware operating system. Citrix Zen Server. This is a Zen operating system, which is also a Unix actually. IBM AIX is Unix flavor. HP UX is a Unix flavor. Sun Solaris is again the Unix flavor. Sun Solaris was gone. HP UX is almost gone. IBM AIX is almost gone. But Sun Solaris again came up with a new operating system which is gaining the market share again. It's Sun Solaris 11. So they are trying their best to come up. But IBM and HP UX, it's very less, very rare you will find it. But these are the operating systems.
आजकल तो जो है वो रेड हैट ज्यादा यूज कर रहे हैं ना, लिनक्स यूज कर रहे हैं क्योंकि लिनक्स फ्री है.
Linux, it's free to a certain extent, but their contracts are little different. It's actually not free. They are you have to pay for the support, not for the software. So you can say it's free, but again, the support will cost you much. Now in Windows, what happens is if you take a license and if you take a Windows operating system, and if you had any issues with the operating system and if you couldn't able to do something which you wanted to, Windows will help you free of cost. But for Linux, if you want to do something, you have to pay for it. You have to pay for the support.
अच्छा, ये ESX के कौन सा वर्जन चल रहा है आजकल? What version we are using for ESX?
EXX का वर्जन मेरे को नहीं मालूम. जुनैद या क्या बोलते हो उमेर, which version did Venkat teach you? ESXi. In 2012, I studied 4.5.
Yes. It was 2012, I believe. The Windows Server 2012. And VMware 10.
No, No,
No,
I
now
know.
VMware 12 आ गया, अब तो 10 तो हम प्रैक्टिस के लिए यूज करते हैं अब
Yeah,
तो।
we did a 10, so I don't know about the 12. We did 10.
नहीं 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 नहीं,
That's
देखो,
what I'm.
try to understand one thing. What you did, VMware 10, VMware 12 is actually, it's not EXXI. EXXI is an operating system altogether for the VMware. So try to understand one thing. You did a virtualization on your laptop. So there is a software, you install it, and then you can create VMs. But in a corporate world, you have to install an EXXI first in the server. EXXI is Linux. You install EXXI, and then using some server or a laptop, you install a VMware client. You connect the server, and that's how you access the server, and that is the host. That is called the host. So the host operating system of VMware is EXXI. So the version of EXSI, I literally don't know. Maybe 6.5. I mean, I still, I have to check on it. So let's see CPU in detail. Every CPU has a clock speed. The faster the clock speed, the faster the frequency of the number of cycles the CPU can perform in a given time. The speed of the CPU cycle determines how fast a process is processed. A CPU cache is used by the CPU to store frequently accessed data or process rather than the memory, because it reduces access time between CPU and memory. Hyperthreading, very important concept. So on my server 6950, it's a dual core server, and I have two CPUs in it. Okay, so I will draw it here. So I have two CPUs into, it's a dual core. Dual core means two cores on each CPU, right? Two cores on each CPU. कहाँ गया भाई? So that's equal to 4. Now, if I have hyperthreading, so hyperthreading is a concept which shows a process that there there are two CPUs. So that 4 into 2 will become 8. So understand, dual core 2 CPUs, that becomes 4, and if we turn hyperthreading, that means we are showing the process that we have two CPUs. Suppose we have one CPU only, dual core. One CPU, dual core. 1 into 2 is 2. That means we have two CPUs. If we turn on the hyperthreading, so that will again increase two CPUs into 2 and make it 4. Hyperthreading. Hyperthreading allows a process to run two threads at the same time. Hyperthreading allows a process to run through threads at the same time. So one CPU can be can work on two different things. A threaded process can appear as two processors rather than just one in operating system. So the dual core hyper-threaded processor will appear in an operating system as 4 processors. वैसा मेरे सर्वर में 8 processors हैं. CPU core. In today's modern CPUs, you will find a lot of CPUs are being marketed as dual core, quad core, etc. What's a core? Core means is that a CPU can be divided into multiple smaller CPUs so that multiple processes can be executed at a time. Without core, a CPU can process only one process or thread at a time. So when you say four quad core processor, and someone might have a quad core laptop. So what is that means? You have one CPU with four cores, and if you turn on the hyper threading, so that will become 8 cores, because one core is a small CPU which can, if a hyper threading is on, it shows there are two CPUs. So one will be 2, so 4 will be 8. And I have no idea what this diagram is all about. So here are the multiple processes available in the market. A server can have multiple processors. So usually in server you have more processors. I mean, you can find 16 processors in a server with an hyper threading on, and that 16 processors are also quad core processors. This all depends upon the customer's usage. This all depends upon what exactly you are doing on the server. This all depends upon how big server you want. A server can have multiple cores. This is all based how the motherboard was designed and who designed the motherboard. Below are various type of processors for servers. Intel Xeon is the latest processor running in the market right now, and it's these processors actually handle Windows, Linux, and EXXI. AMD Optron. I have AMD Optron. It's even you can run Windows, Linux, EXXI. PowerPC by IBM. So PowerPC by IBM, you can only install AIX or the operating system that is offered by IBM. PARISC RISC by HP. This is a specialized processor which is only used with HP operating systems, which HP has is for this particular hardware. Spark is by Suns. So Solaris and other operating systems can be installed on this sorry, not application, on this CPU. So there are different companies who make a CPU and for different use. And the CPU is of 32-bit and 64-bit and 128-bit. 32-bit was till 2008 R2. So they were for 2008 R2 32-bit, and there was 2008 R2 64-bit. But starting 2012, there is only 64-bit. There are no more 32 bits, and 128-bit is the biggest one. Most of the modern computers are now 32-bit based computers. The reason for the 32-bit limitation is because the motherboard cannot transfer more than 32 bytes of information at a time from memory to CPU, and this limitation is due to the bus channel in the motherboard. So that has been changed, and the most of the modern servers and the newer computers are now 64-bit based, and the supercomputers are now 128-bit based. The wider the burst width bandwidth, the more information can be sent at a time to be processed. Any questions before we move on to networking?
I'm fine.
What is a network? Have you guys ever thought that every home has a network in it? Every home has a network. A network allows exchange of information or data across a computer network. A data network in a group of computers connected to one another by communication path as well as the standards that allows communication. The network can connect to other networks, allowing virtually worldwide communication between two endpoints. It is called a network. You have a phone, you have a laptop at home, you are getting connected to the internet. You have multiple laptops at home. In every laptop, go ahead, go to command prompt and write a command ipconfig, and you will see the IP address that is assigned to your laptop. On the IP address, take the IP address, go to another laptop, ping that IP address. That means you are pinging to your other laptop, and you can see the result. That shows that your other laptop or your phone, or if you can find the IP address of your phone from your laptop, you can ping that device. If you can ping that device, that means you can access that device at any means. So it's a network. So every house has a network. Types of network. There are two types of network. Actually, there are three types of network: LAN, WAN, and MAN. But let's speak about LAN and WAN. So LAN is the network that is along with you. If I said like your router has an internet connection, you have a phone, you have a laptop, somebody else in the house has a laptop and a phone, you all are connected to each other. As I said, you can ping each other. You can copy your photos or data from your phone to your laptop, from laptop to your phone wirelessly or wiredly using internet connection also. Why? Because you are connected using a local area network. As soon as you open a browser and type www.google.com, the command, a packet of information gets generated in your computer. If it's a wireless communication, it goes to router. If it's a wired communication, it passes through a wire and goes to router. Router sees, oh, it's google.com. It translates the name into IP address, then send the information onto the, it just move the information from the router to Google. As soon as the packet leaves the router and moves into the outside world, it's a WAN, wide area network. Right now, you are connected to me because of WAN, that is wide area network. LAN, local area network. In a small geographical area such as a corporate office network, LAN can also be considered as an intranet. WAN, wide area network, is extremely large geographical areas such as the entire world or a country. WAN can also be considered as an internet. Simple example, if you see this is a switch, but forget it. This is a router. There are two servers connected to it, and suppose this three also connected to it. So this is something like at your home. Don't consider wires. Suppose this is your brother's laptop, this is your laptop, this is your father's laptop, this is your mother's laptop, your phone, their phone. Everything is connected to this router. So till the communication is between them, this is LAN. Once the communication goes from here, moves into the outside world, it's a WAN connection. Right now, if you see, we are connected this way. This is my router. This is Junaid or Shabbir router. Junaid is connected, or Shabbir is connected, or Hamza is connected. One more, someone is connected. This is me. I have a switch. I have a server. I have this laptop which I am working from. I have this laptop to show things. This is my phone. This is my wife's phone. I have a tablet. So these all are communicating to each other. So this is a LAN connection. This is a LAN connection because Hamza, Junaid, and Umair are sitting at the same place, and even Shabbir is a LAN connection because Shabbir has 2 3 phones. He has 2 3 laptops, and all are connected to each other using a router. But as soon as the information from you coming to me is a WAN link, it's a WAN connection. And how is this WAN or LAN things are working? It's working because of a protocol. And what is a protocol? Protocol, I mean, the real meaning of protocol is it's a set of rules. It's a set of rules which governs and says how the packet is going to be transferred from one network to another or one computer to another. That's it. That's the meaning of protocol. Now, once we say TCP IP protocol, that means transmission control protocol or internet protocol. So it's a set of rules. Even TCP IP is a set of rules like how a packet is going to move. So TCP IP allows modern corporate network communication between two ends or two network cards or two network devices anywhere in the world. TCP/IP communicates using data bits or packets. The biggest advantage of using TCP/IP is there is a minimal or no packet loss due to its retry interval. So TCP/IP is a there is a way of doing it in TCP/IP. If you want to learn more about TCP/IP, I mean search on a Google and you can study on it more. I'm going to be little brief because I have no idea about your understanding level. Maybe someone might understand it very rightly, I mean, if anyone has any doubts, they can come back to me on TCP/IP. So TCP/IP communicates using data bits or packets. The biggest advantage of using TCP/IP is there is minimal or no packet loss due to their entry retry interval. So they retry the packets and then they transmit it. To know more about TCP/IP, please study OSI model. The very important thing, OSI model, you have to have it. I mean, there are 7 layers in it which you need to understand it correctly. To keep this sim to keep things simple, TCP/IP is nothing but a protocol to send information across multiple devices. To make things easier, the transmission control in the abbreviation of TCP/IP means that packets are transferred in a controlled fashion across the multiple devices, and it doesn't matter if the network is either WAN or a LAN. This all communication depends upon the MAC address. This depends upon the net IP address. IP address of IPv4. Network devices in the world, such as network cards, wireless cards, all have a unique MAC address, and it's in the format of this. This is how it's an hexadecimal digits. This is how the MAC address is formatted. And everyone has a MAC address. Your phone has a MAC address because if you are communicating using internet, it has to have a MAC address. Only then you can communicate, and then it has to have a IP address. So IP addresses are used to define a 4-byte address to a network device or to a MAC address. All the IP addresses are defined in a 4 dotted decimal notation. For an example, if you see, this is how the IP address is notated. So when two devices are communicating with each other using IP address, they are actually communicating with their MAC addresses. Once the first packet reaches the receiver from the sender, it communicates back with the MAC address and the vice versa. The max number of IP addresses are limited. So these, so when the IP address, TCP/IP protocols were made at that time, they have came up with this big number saying that, boss, we will have this many IP addresses. Okay, let's start with this. We will not complicate it. We will start with this, and nobody in the world will use this such a big number. But right now we are done with IPv4. It's over. So the world is moving towards IPv6. The 32-bit limitations has nothing to do with the CPU limitation of 32-bit. At the time when they designed IPv4, no one expected that would be used for more than 4.3 billion IP addresses. That nobody will use 4.3 billion IP addresses. It's too much. That's what they thought. But not even in 50 years, it's all over. So if you see, every website has an IP address. Every website have to have an IP address. So you know how many lakhs or thousands or millions of websites are there. Everyone has an IP address now. So these are the public versus private IPs. This is the 10 dot range, which is I can't even say that number. I think it's 16,077,072,000 addresses and 172 16 0.0 to 172.31.255. It has about 1/4 1,048,000 IP addresses, and 192.168.0.0, 192.168.25.255, it has 65,000. If you check your laptops, and if you do IP config, you will mostly get IP address in the range of 192.168.0.1 to 192.168.255.255. This is the IP address in the above table are considered as private IPs. These are all private IPs. So every device of yours will have 192.168.0.0 IP address. Mostly every company, their IP addresses are going to be 10.0.0. Starting from that to 10.255, 255, 250, and 172 are the are used in the companies. 192 can also be used, but 192 is actually everybody has it. I mean, your IP address might be the same with someone else. That all depends upon the router. But every router has this IP address given to their clients: 192.168.0.3, 0.4, these type of IP addresses. These all IP addresses are reserved or private. Like 127 is a 0.0.1 is a loopback address. 10.0.0, nobody use it because it's a private network. 0.0.0.0 is a current network only valid as source address. So there are few which cannot be used, like 255, 255, 255, 255. It's a broadcast address. You can't use it. So this is the class A, class B, class C subnet masking. So in a class A, Umair has left. Bye bye. So in a class A, 1 to 126 it says class A, and their default subnet mask 255.0.0.0. In class B, it's 128 to 191, and their subnet mask is going to be 255 255.0.0. And in class C, the default subnet mask is 255 255 255.0. And when I say the class 192 is going to be your address, so when I say 192 is going to be your IP address, so that means you all are in this range. Your subnet mask is 255 255 255.0, and you are in class C IP. Static versus dynamic address, very easy thing. When the router gives you the IP address, it's a dynamic IP address. When you assign an IP address to yourself, it's a static IP address. And how the router gives you the IP address, or how a server gives you an IP address. So there is a called DHCP, Dynamic Host Control Protocol. This is a server which gives you a new IP address automatically. So that is called dynamic IP address. Static is the one you go in, you give your own IP address. So let's see which IP address I have. So how do we go there? Okay. Open network and sharing center. Okay. Go to Ethernet. Okay. Properties. An unexpected error occurred. And why the hell it occurred? Properties. Here is the IP address what we put it in. Here is the IP address. So do you see? Obtain an IP address automatically is selected here, and you don't see anything. That means this my laptop is getting an IP address from the router directly using DHCP protocol. And if I do it, ipconfig, and what happened was ipconfig. So this is my IPv6. I'm just trying to see something. Got it? That was IPv6. Let me put that command again. ipconfig. So this is the IP address of my this computer. So I am in class C, and what should be my subnet mask? It should be 255.255.255.0. This is the default gateway. The usually our computer default gateway is going to be our router IP address. So this is our router IP address. Right, class C, I said 192, and subnet mask 255.255.0. So static IP are the IP addresses which are manually configured by a user or administrator on a server or a workstation. Dynamic IP addresses are automatically generated by a service called DHCP. A DHCP server in your private network assigns a IP address. In most corporations, if not all servers are assigned a static IP address, the workstations are assigned a dynamic IP address. Address resolution. As I said in the beginning, every website has a IP address. Like you go to google.com, you put google.com on an internet explorer, but your computer changes it into its website, into its IP address, and then move forward the request in the WAN, and it directly goes to that address, hits the address, get the information, and shows you on the screen. Hosts on the internet are usually no, known not by IP addresses but by their name. When you type google.com in your browser, the address is then translated to a IP address with the help of DNS, domain name system. So there is a local DNS on your computers which actually changes this. In a company, there has to be a DNS server. The DNS server will help you in resolving hostname to IP address and IP address to hostname. The quickest example of the DNS is like your phone book. Every number in the phone book has a name. Advantages of the DNS server. The advantage of the DNS server is that it takes it nearly impossible to remember IP addresses for each website that you visit. For an example, daily website that every visits, such as google.com, is translated to, for an example, okay, 72.14.204.103. So you can either enter google.com or this every time you want to visit Google, but who will remember such a number? So that's the reason we remember google.com. And if you speak about IPv6, this number is going to be much more longer. Nowadays, everyone is using IPv6. So if I ping google.com, this is what I see. This is what I see. Who will remember this number? No way. I can't. How would I be able? How would I able on the Mac?
How would I be able to see this on the Mac?
On a Mac
The ping.
laptop?
Yes.
भाई मेरे को नहीं मालूम.
अच्छा
Come on, Mac पे I have no idea. अब वो उसके अंदर CMD किधर होता है, कमांड प्रॉम्प्ट नहीं पता.
अच्छा ठीक है थैंक यू
Various types of network services and protocols. So there are few other protocols that you need to know. So what? Just give me a second. Just a second, okay? Um, Sorry, guys, it was a phone call. So, in network services, you need to know few other protocols like DHCP. We already saw what is DHCP, Dynamic Host Control Protocol. It automatically gives IP address, default gateway, and subnet mask uh, to any of the computer which comes under his range. What is DNS? DNS is a domain name server or service or system which identifies a server or a client saying that okay, he is from my company, he belongs to me, or who is he, this server, who is this server. And what is gateway or a router? A gateway is a final point where the data switches from one network to another. A router is nothing but a service which routes the traffic from one network to another. For example, when you access google.com, your Linksys gateway router is the final point before the workstation hits Google server. Also, when you access google.com, your Links Linksys gateway router is also routing traffic from LAN to WAN to LAN. Print server. Print server is in a company, you will have a print server and there will be multiple printers. When you give a print, the message goes to a server and it stays there because it's first come first out. FIFO. FIFO. First in first out basis. So everyone is printing, want a print, and someone printed, you printed, I printed, he printed, Samir printed. So it gets accumulated in a queue in a print server, and then first in first out. So which one came first will go out. Which one came first go out. So that's how it prints. So a print server manages a print queue to various printers in the network. A print server also controls the priority For example, first come first serve basis to printers. File server. File server is nothing but a server where you save the data. Saving a data is a file server. So it's a common location where you would save things like documents, system images, or softwares. FTP server. FTP server is a file transfer protocol server. A file transfer protocol server is a service that can be enabled on a server which a client or a user can use to upload files to that server. So some application might need it. So in that case, we give FTP servers where the clients can upload the data to the server, use it at that time when they need it. Web server, very important. Every website what you see has a web server running behind it. And that's the only reason you are seeing a website. Web server is a service that runs on a server which can be used to host a own website. Email server is an exchange server. It's an email service that runs on a server which maintains all your emails and also has additional functionality like creating mails, so compose, controlling spam, various other options which is related to email. Active Directory or an LDAP server. LDAP means Lightweight Directory Access Protocol. Server is a centralized or a common service that runs on a server which maintains all the user information such as user accounts, who is going to log into the server, who is going to log into the storage, who is going to log into what. This information is actually stored by the Active Directory or the LDAP in a corporate level. So when a user logs into a corporate network workstation, the workstation authenticates the user using LDAP server for these credentials. Every 3 months you have to change a password. You get a notification. You are getting it from the LDAP. VPN server. A VPN means virtual private network server, allows user from the outside network WAN connect to the inside network LAN. VPN allows administrators perform day-to-day tasks while working from home or remotely. I'm not going to cover VLANs, and we will check on this later. Blades. We will do blades. Okay. The blade what you see in front of your screen right now, it's an HP BL460C blade. HP has this screenshot I have taken little in 2012. So now they have the latest blade that is BL465 and more than that too. I just had this to show you what exactly the parts are called as. If you see this section, this is called an access panel, and uh, 8 light buffered memory DIMMs. Okay, this is also referred to memory. So instead of memory, they also say DIMMs. So magazine slots number 7. These are the magazine slots. Local I/O connectors number 4. Local I/O connectors. I/O means input output, so it can be mouse, keyboard, monitor, small form factor, HP Smart Array E200 I controller. Where is that? 6. So this is how the server, if you see it, a blade server. I have a rack server. So rack servers are bigger in size, giant, very heavy, and blades are very complicated, very small. It has all the capability of what a big server has, but their size is small. That's it. this is how the server looks. HP BL460C blades. If you see, these are the DIMMs. As I said, DIMMs again. These are RAMs, CPU. Sorry, not CPU. It's an um, fiber channel HBA card. Because of this card, you can connect a fiber channel to use it for the SAN or NAS connection or a storage connection. This is a dual empty small form factor hard disk base. So these are one, two, three, four base, four hard disk base. To, and also it has, if you can see this, these are processors, CPUs. So everything is just in it. And these are the enclosures. So this is the front end of HP, this is the back end of HP. If you see, this is HPC 7000 enclosure. This is how it looks. So if you see, you have in this enclosure, you have 16 blades. You can accommodate 16 blades. What is the advantage of, see, so if I have this, that means I have 16 servers. And if I switch them on, it's like I'm switching on 16 servers simultaneously. So, and how much space, it's the advantage of blade server on rack server is rack server are giant, big, very heavy. All of these are also very heavy, but if you want to hold one in your hand, you can do it very easily. But you cannot hold a rack server at all. It's very heavy, very, very heavy. It's like 80, 90 pounds, 100 pounds. And this one server might be 30 pounds. One. See, this is one, this is two, three, four, five, six, and where it's gone. So there are eight in one row and eight in one row. This is the front end, this is the back end. In the back, you have fans here to cool down the servers. You have all the connections that is needed. You have an input output connection. You have fiber channel connections. The advantage of the blade and rack server is, it's first of all, it's huge. They are very they are not that these are not that huge. These are smaller in size, and the other thing is wiring. Every rack server are so big and it requires all the wires. Here is the consolidation of the wires. Once you put an internet wire here, that means all the servers has an internet now. You don't have to plug 16 wires to get an internet. And power cables. Every rack server has two power cables at any cost. So if you see, if suppose if we have 16 servers, so we have 16 into two power cables. But in a rack server, if you see, there are three cables here and three cables here. That's it, and that's all is needed. And these are redundant. When is gone, the other one will take care of it. So even this three are gone, this three will take care of the complete 16 servers. We will do SAN later. RAID. Very important topic. RAID is redundant array of independent disk. Why do we use RAID? The first question, why do we use RAID? We use RAID because of the protection from the loss of data. It all depends upon how important. So there are different type of RAIDs. RAID 0, RAID 5, RAID 1, RAID 6, RAID 10, RAID 01. Okay. So as you go along, RAID 0 less expensive, RAID 5 little expensive, RAID 1 little expensive, RAID 5 more expensive than RAID 1, RAID 6 more expensive than RAID 5, RAID 10 more expensive than RAID 6, RAID 01 is same expensive as RAID 10. Now why people use RAID? Why? This all depends on what exactly you are doing, why exactly you are doing, and how important your data is, and how much you can spend to get back that data. So redundant array of independent disk, RAID, is a technique of storing a same data on multiple hard disks to increase read and write performance and fault tolerance. Fault tolerance. Anything can happen to any hardware, and we should be prepared for it. We should know how important our data is. So this all depends. Khud, what we do is when we get married, or when we had children, or we have some important ceremony, we take a video. When we take a video of that, we put it on a CD and we try to create either one more CD or save it somewhere, because you want that data. If anything happens to your original CD, you still have to have that data. In a properly configured RAID storage system, the loss of any single disk will not interfere with users' ability to access the data storage on a failed disk. RAID has become a standard. It's a standard. I mean, even in my company, we do RAIDs depending upon what customer wants. RAIDs are not designed, or RAIDs are not decided by you guys. Your company or your app team will tell you which RAID they want, which RAID they want to go with. Then you do a RAID. RAID has become a standard by transparent feature in both enterprise class and consumer class storage products. Various RAID types. There are 6 type of RAIDs: RAID 0, RAID 1, RAID 5, RAID 6, RAID 01, RAID 1. Oh, sorry, RAID 10, RAID 01. RAID 0. What is a RAID 0? The other name of RAID 0 is its striping. So for RAID 0, the minimum requirement is you need to have 2 hard drives, and you configure it in the RAID 0, and then you install an operating system, or you do whatever the work you want to in RAID 0. What will happen is, suppose you are saving A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. A will save here, B will save here, C will save here, D will save here, E will save here, F will save here. Now, after a year, disk 0 failed, जल गई. Now what? Do you have the data on disk 1? You have the data, but it's an incomplete data. You don't have A, you have B. You don't have C, you have D. You don't have E, you have F. So you have an incomplete data. So let's read it, what it says. RAID 0 striping requires a minimum of 2 disks. An array with a disk configured in RAID 0 mode will have its data written subsequently and concurrently. In RAID 0, if a disk fails, all the data is lost. So any disk fails, all the data is lost. Now let's see what RAID 1 is. RAID 1. RAID 1 is also called as mirroring. Mirror. I did RAID 1 on which I installed an operating system. Altogether in my server I have 4 hard disks. 2 are 136 GB hard disk and 2 are 275 GB hard disk. So I did 136 GB को मैंने किया है RAID 1. तो what is the requirement to do RAID 1? I need to have 2 hard drives of equal capacity. So मैंने दो 136 GB को RAID 1 कर दी और एक को RAID 0 किया और दूसरे को RAID 0 किया. RAID 1 mirroring also requires minimum of 2 disks, and RAID with its disk configured in RAID 1 mode will have the data written identically. तो होता क्या है? तो मैंने ये किया RAID 1 किया है एंड उसके ऊपर इंस्टॉल किया है ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम. Now if accidentally anything happens to one of my disk, but still my server will come up because I have a RAID 1 on same data is there on disk 1, same data is there on disk 0. Whatever I install, whatever I worked on, both the disk will have the same data. They will not show you on the operating system level. This is all getting done inside the server. I will show you in a while, अभी थोड़ी देर में मेरे सर्वर पे कि how that disk is shown. RAID 5. RAID 5 means stripping plus priority. Stripping. हमने जो RAID 0 देखा था, stripping. इसके अंदर होता क्या है? Data written subsequently and concurrently on every drive. तो RAID 5 में भी यही होता है. Requires minimum of 3 disk. So it requires minimum 3, and the array with its disk configured in RAID 5 mode will have its data written concurrently, but all the disk will have the parity sector. So every disk will have a parity sector. So if you see here, अब मैं लिख रहा हूँ A B C D. तो देखो A यहाँ सेव हो गया, B यहाँ सेव हो गया, D यहाँ सेव हो गया. अब नेक्स्ट उसके ऊपर होगी पैरिटी. पैरिटी बिट सेव होगी. ये पैरिटी बिट में A1 की इंफॉर्मेशन होगी, A2 की थोड़ी इंफॉर्मेशन होगी, A3 की इंफॉर्मेशन होगी. B2 यहाँ सेव हो गया, सॉरी B1 यहाँ सेव हो गया, B2 यहाँ सेव हो गया, पैरिटी यहाँ सेव हो गई, B3 यहाँ सेव हो गई. C1 यहाँ शिफ्ट हो गया, पैरिटी यहाँ शिफ्ट हो गई, तो एवरी डिस्क विल हैव अ पैरिटी, they will save a parity. What will happen is, in this case, if one disk fails, तो एक डिस्क फेल हो गई, you will still have a data, but it's expensive. आप एक मामूली सा ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम या कुछ आप अपना ऐसा काम कर रहे हैं एंड इन, और आप काम कर रहे छोटा सरगा, क्योंकि अंडरस्टैंड, समझो कस्टमर को चाहिए 136 GB, you have to order 436 GB hard disks and then do a RAID 5, because आप एक डिस्क पे RAID 5 तो कर नहीं सकते, RAID 5 का रिक्वायरमेंट है कि यू नीड मिनिमम 3 डिस्क, so you need 3 hard drives into 136 to give customer only 136. And if one disk fails, nothing to worry, your data is still safe. But if 2 disk fails, your data is lost. So अब 2 डिस्क तो ऐसा फेल नहीं होते, एक डिस्क हो सकती हार्ड डिस्क क्रैश हो गई, खराब हो गई, एक हो सकता, दो तो नहीं हो सकते एक साथ साइमल्टेनियसली एट वन शॉट. Now let's see what is RAID 6. RAID 6 is the same thing. It has a stripping plus double priority. RAID 5 में थी सिंगल प्रायोरिटी, RAID 5 में थी सिंगल प्रायोरिटी, RAID 6 में है डबल प्रायोरिटी. इसके अंदर 2 डिस्क भी फेल हुए तो डेटा इज स्टिल देयर, 3 डिस्क फेल हुए, डेटा इज गॉन, डेटा इज गॉन. RAID 6 stripping plus double priority requires a minimum of 4 disks. An array with its disk configured in RAID 6 mode will have its data written concurrently, but all the disks will have the double parity sector. In RAID 6, if more than 2 disks are lost, all the data is lost. RAID 0 plus 1 and 1 plus 0. बहुत easy. RAID 0 क्या है? Stripping. Stripping. A1, A2, A3, A2, A4, A5, A6, A7, A8. तो क्या होगा, समझो ये डिस्क 1 है, ये डिस्क 2 है, ये डिस्क 3 है, ये डिस्क 4 है, तो RAID 0 1 के लिए यू नीड 4 डिस्क कंफर्म्ड, और उसके बाद में ये RAID 0 है, ये RAID 0 है, ये, और ये RAID 1 में क्या होता है, मिररिंग होती है, ये RAID 0 और इसकी मिररिंग, इसकी मिररिंग, सो 4 डिस्क और इसको यहां मिरर कर दिए पूरा, सो दिस इज 0 1. और इसके अंदर समझो सपोज दिस डिस्क फेल्ड, nothing to worry, you still have this. Okay, this disk failed, nothing to worry, you still have this. This disk failed, nothing to worry, you still have this, and you can get your data, right? RAID 10, very high reliable combined with high performance, best, suitable, excellent, most expensive solutions है ये. तो क्या हो रहा, RAID 1 के ऊपर RAID 0, तो RAID 0 का मतलब है concurrently it writes on every disk. RAID 1 is mirroring, तो it wrote A1, A1 मिरर हो गया, A3 मिरर हो गया, उसके बाद A2 मिरर हो गया, फिर A3 मिरर हो गया, A4 मिरर हो गया. So what happens here is, if this disk is lost, you still have a data here. If this disk is lost, you still have a data here. Right? So RAID depends upon so many things. Who is using it? what is the use, how important the data is. Guys, let me know if you have any questions till the topic what we have covered, because I am about to complete this sessions. We'll do backup later. Let me know if you are okay with what we did. If you didn't understood anything, I will stop by, I will explain you and then move forward. Shabir,
रेट को मिरर कैसे करते हैं कमांड लाइन से?
नो 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 नो। रेड को देखो, आप कमांड लाइन में पहुंचेंगे कैसा, जब आप ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम में रहोगे, हाँ, तो आप कमांड लाइन तक जाओगे, राइट। लेकिन मैं आपको बताता हूँ तरीके रेड के। अभी मैं अपना सर्वर भी टर्न ऑन कर रहा हूँ। Okay, I'm turning on the server now. So what you are seeing in front of you right now is drag. तो मैंने सर्वर को ऐसा कनेक्ट किया है, मेरे सर्वर में 8 ईथरनेट पोर्ट्स है और एक ड्रैग है. Drag is a backdoor entry to go into a server. So I'm actually using a backdoor entry. सर्वर तो समझो मेरे पास सर्वर है मेरे बेसमेंट में रखा हुआ. सर्वर तो कोई मेरे साथ नहीं है भाई, सर्वर मेरे बेसमेंट में रखा हुआ है. अब मेरे को जब भी स्विच ऑन करना होगा, जब भी कुछ करना होगा, समझो सर्वर स्ट्रक हो गया, सर्वर में मैं लॉगिन नहीं कर सक रहा हूँ, कोई लॉगिन नहीं कर सक रहा, कुछ हो गया, हाउ विल यू एक्सेस इट? You will access it using a drag. This is how I am accessing it. So it's a separate piece of hardware जो कंपनी को बाय करना पड़ता है, और एवरी कंपनी बाइज इट, क्योंकि कोई जाके सर्वर को हाथ से खोल के बंद करके नहीं आता, वो लोग रिमोटली करते हर चीज, और किसी का सर्वर या नीचे पाँव में रखा हुआ नहीं रहता कि दे कैन डू इट. तो मैं ड्रैग को के अंदर आया, विच इज 192.168.0.120, जिसका आईपी एड्रेस है. आई केम इन टू इट and I want to see what happens to my server. Okay, my server got restarted for some reason. और मैं यहाँ से पूरा काम कर सकता हूँ, जैसा कि I want to show you Control R. I just pressed Control R so that I can go into rate. So when you first get the server, उसमें तो कोई ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम नहीं होता. You will not have any operating system. You will not have anything. It's a brand new server. You open it, you see this. You only see this. And when you get an option Control R, you go into Control R. और अब देखते हैं वो हमको क्या बताएगा, क्योंकि मैंने पहले से कॉन्फ़िगरेशन किया है, तो मैं कॉन्फ़िगरेशन तो चेंज नहीं करूंगा. मैं दिस इज द रेट कंट्रोलर. आई एम इनटू रेट कंट्रोलर राइट नाउ. So how many disk I have? So how to see Control P? बहुत आगे चले गया भाई। How many disk I have? I have 4 disk. Two are 139 GB, two are 256 GB, 285 GB. ये दोनों को मैंने रेड 1 किया है, इसको रेड 0 किया है, इसको रेड 0 किया है, और इसको रेड 0 किया है बिना 2 डिस्क के, सिर्फ एक ही डिस्क लगा के रेड 0 किया है। इसको रेड 0 किया है बिना सिर्फ एक डिस्क लगा के, क्योंकि आई वांट टू यूज दिस डिस्क पूरे से। देखो आपको बता भी रहा है, रे हाईलाइट करता हूँ, ये वर्चुअल डिस्क 0, रेड लेवल 1, और इसके अंदर कितने फिजिकल डिस्क गए? 2।
इसको देखेंगे किस तरह, बायोस में जाके देखते हैं?
बायोस में नहीं, इसका अपना, जब आपके आपके पास रेट कंट्रोलर लगा होता है ना, तो आप उसके अंदर जाके देखते हैं। तो मैंने, आप अगर देखे तो मैं कंट्रोल आर दबाया था, तो जब सर्वर्स में रेट कंट्रोल लगा होता है, तो आप कंट्रोल आर करके रेट कंट्रोलर में जाके देन व्हाट यू डू इज यू सी दी डिस्क। तो आप उसके बाद में ये करेंगे कि ना, वर्चुअल डिस्क आप उसको सेलेक्ट करेंगे। सेलेक्ट करने के बाद वो आपको पूछेगा विच रेट यू वांट टू गो विथ, तो आप वहां रेट लेवल सेलेक्ट करोगे कि आई वांट टू गो विथ रेट लेवल दिस और दैट, क्योंकि आप रेट 5 भी कंपेयर कर सकते हो, रेट कौन सा भी रेट को कर सकते हो। मेरे पास 4 डिस्क है, रेट 01 भी कर सकते हो, 10 भी कर सकते हो, कौन सा भी कर सकते हो। तो मैंने रेट 1 किया है और 2 डिस्क इसमें लगाया है, और उसके बाद में, ओके ये डिस्क को देखो, ब, इस ये किया पहले, उसके बाद में ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम इंस्टॉल की। ये देखो रेट लेवल 0, 270 GB। ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम इंस्टॉल करने के बाद मैं फिर ये 2 डिस्क है सो ओमसा से बनाया, a different thing, I will show you that. समझे? Any more questions here? शबीर?
नहीं, ये यहीं से आप सिलेक्ट कर सकते हैं रेड को, यानी कि
नहीं समझा मैं, क्या बोले, फिर से बोलो।
रेड जो हम यूज कर रहे हैं, रेड जो भी डिस्क हम सेलेक्ट करना चाहे वो यहाँ से सिलेक्ट कर सकते हैं।
यहाँ से भी सेलेक्ट कर सकते हैं, बट समझो आपके पास ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम नहीं है, यू जस्ट स्टार्टेड अ सर्वर, तो यहीं से ही कर सकते हैं।
अच्छा, आपने क्या F6 मारा था?
F6 ने, कंट्रोल आर यहाँ लिखा हुआ है, देखो, प्रेस कंट्रोल आर टू रन कॉन्फ़िगरेशन यूटिलिटी।
ओके, समझ गया।
ये बड़ा नहीं होता यार, ये इतना ही रहता। ओके, इसके बाद में मैं आपको लेकर जाऊंगा कंट्रोल ई में। मैं आपको अभी मैं आपको अभी ये बताया ना कि अब मैं यहाँ से, मैं सर्वर पे नहीं हूँ, आई एम एक्सेसिंग सर्वर फ्रॉम समवेयर एल्स, मैं सर्वर पे नहीं हूँ। देखो सर्वर तो ये है, दिख रहा? सर्वर तो ये है, but I'm accessing it using a different wireless laptop, या नहीं तो समझो मेरा वर्क लैपटॉप। मैं सर्वर को डायरेक्ट नहीं एक्सेस कर रहा हूँ, मैं पीछे से एक्सेस कर रहा हूँ सर्वर को।
Right.
But I can do everything from here, I can do everything from the server. So how am I doing it? हेलो, आवाज आ रही ना भाई सबको? या म्यूट बटन दब गया था अभी?
जी आवाज आ रही है।
So how am I accessing it? तो मेरे सर्वर का एक आईपी एड्रेस है और मेरे ड्रैग का एक आईपी एड्रेस है। तो 192.168.0.20 मेरे ड्रैग का आईपी एड्रेस है और मेरे सर्वर का आईपी एड्रेस है 192.168.0.13। So भाई this server cannot load।
तो हम अगर घर में सर्वर का सेटअप करना चाहें तो आप उसकी हेल्प कर सकते हैं या नहीं?
हाँ
अच्छा।
तो ये है ओमसा, ओपन मैनेज सर्वर एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर ऑफ डेल। तो मैं इस वक्त डेल के सर्वर में हूँ और दिस इज अ सेपरेट एप्लीकेशन, यू हैव टू इंस्टॉल इट। मैं इसको इंस्टॉल किया, तो नाउ आई कैन सी माय कंप्लीट सर्वर, आई मीन उसकी हेल्थ कैसी है, कैसे कैसा चल रहा। सो आई कैन सी इट फ्रॉम हियर, लाइक व्हाट इज द बैटरी स्टेटस, व्हाट इज द बायोस वर्जन, फैन कैसा चल रहा है, कोई फैन खराब हुआ क्या, आई गेट एवरीथिंग हियर। और कितने आरपीएम से चल रहे, फर्मवेयर कैसा है, सर्वर ऊपर से बंद है खुला है क्या है, मेमोरी इसके अंदर कितनी है, सब सही है क्या, कैसी लगी हुई है मेमोरी, कौन सी मेमोरी है। मेरे को 4 GB के मेरे पास आठ आठ मेमोरीज है लगे हुए, मेमोरी कार्ड से लगे हुए, और मेरे पास 16 स्लॉट्स है, 16 स्लॉट्स। नेटवर्क के अंदर मेरे पास आठ या 10 नेटवर्क कार्ड्स लगे हुए हैं। आई एम यूजिंग ओनली वन इथरनेट केबल, बट मेरे पास 8 या 10 नेटवर्क कार्ड से लगे हुए। देख रहे इतने नेटवर्क कार्ड से मैं एक ही यूज कर रहा हूँ। एक यहाँ यूज कर रहा हूँ, एक ड्रैग के लिए यूज कर रहा हूँ। पोर्ट्स, यूएसबी पोर्ट्स भी है इसके अंदर, सीरियल पोर्ट भी है, मैं सीरियल पोर्ट से थ्रू ही मॉनिटर को कनेक्ट किया हुआ हूँ। नंबर ऑफ पावर सप्लाईज, उन्हें पावर सप्लाईज को मैं कैसा चला रहा हूँ बता रहा। अगर मैं पावर सप्लाई निकाल दूं, यू विल सी अ क्रॉस मार्क किया। So this is the storage. So this is what you were asking. So मैंने पहले रेड 0 कॉन्फ़िगर किया था, फिर उसके बाद में ये यहाँ आके बनाया रेड 1 एंड रेड 2। तो रेड 0 के अंदर देखो मेरे पास दो डिस्क है ऑफ 136 GB। ये एक डिस्क हो गई, ये एक डिस्क हो गई। तो उसकी पूरी इंफॉर्मेशन डिस्क की, और ये रेड 1 की डिस्क है, सॉरी रेड 0 की डिस्क है, 278 GB। गुड।
रेट को क्रिएट कैसे करते हैं रोशन भाई?
देखो दो तरीके हैं रेड को क्रिएट करने के। देयर आर टू वेज। एक काम कर, तो मैं तुमको बता ही देता हूँ। एक मिनट, मेरे को थोड़े चीज़ा मेरे खराब हो जाएंगे, क्योंकि मैं तुमको फिर बताता हूँ रेट कैसा करते हैं। अभी अभी लाइट ले लो उसको। मैं एक बार तो रेट तुमको करके बताऊंगा। रेट 0 तो करके बताऊंगा 100%।
ठीक है।
रेट 1 ऑप्शंस बता दूंगा पूरे। क्योंकि इस वक्त सब चल रहा है, वो खराब हो जाएगा। रेट तुम इसके अंदर से भी कर सकते हो। अभी इसको मैं निकाल दे सकता हूँ बात के, जैसा कि डिलीट। और मैं ये करूं कि निकाल दो उसको, वो तो निकाल भी देगा वो। तो वो निकालने के बाद मैं तुमको वापस से रेट करके बता सकता हूँ। तो वी विल डू इट लेटर बट।
ओके।
ओके। अब मैं तुमको सर्वर को रीस्टार्ट कर रहा हूं। मैं रीस्टार्ट करके आई एम गोइंग टू शो यू बायोस, एंड आई एम गोइंग टू शो यू फ्यू अदर ऑप्शंस। सर्वर स्टॉप होने के वास्ते अच्छा थोड़ा टाइम लगता है, तो मैं यहाँ पे थोड़ा म्यूट करके पानी पी के आता हूँ। ओके।
ओके।
मैं अभी F2 प्रेस करा टू गो इनटू बायोस। ये आ गया मैं बायोस में। ओके। सो अब इसके अंदर है। सो यू इफ यू वांट टू चेंज द टाइम, एंड आई एक्चुअली वांट टू चेंज द टाइम, इट्स हो क्या रहा है रियल टाइम। not 17. It's actually 19. 19. और ये तो सही है। उसके बाद में मेमोरी इंफॉर्मेशन, कितनी मेमोरी है मेरे पास? ऑल टुगेदर 32 GB मेमोरी है, DDR2 रैम है, और वीडियो मेमोरी 16 MB है। CPU इंफॉर्मेशन कितने CPU? 64 बिट। यस यस, आई मीन यस, देयर इज नो अदर वे आई कैन चेंज इट। इट्स दैट्स इट, इट्स यस है तो यस है। CPU कोर स्पीड, बस स्पीड, virtualization technology. Most of you guys might have found a difficulty in doing it, but this is how you need to go into BIOS, change it to change your virtualization technology in your BIOS and make it enable. Only then you can install and work with that VMware thing you were doing it before. So it can be disabled on the server as well. So if VMware is not working, or if there is anything on a new server, you need to keep in mind that maybe in this thing is enabled or not. You need to check that. So now this is my server, Core 2 Duo, dual core, AMD Optron is the server I'm using. Number of cores 2, यानी एक एक उसके अंदर 2 कोर है। तो ये हो गया प्रोसेसर 1, प्रोसेसर 2, प्रोसेसर 3 and processor 4. So altogether I have 4 processors, that to dual core, यानी 2 2 2 2। तो ये हो गया 2 2 4 2 8, सॉरी 2 6 2 8। अब ये
यहाँ
सर्वर
पे तो नजर भी नहीं आ रहा,
क्या नहीं आ रहा?
स्क्रीन आपकी फ्रीज आ रही है।
आपके स्क्रीन नजर नहीं आ रहा है।
सॉरी
हाँ।
सॉरी सॉरी, सो सॉरी।
जो कुछ अभी कहा है उसकी किसी की बात की नहीं समझ आई।
कहाँ से नहीं आई समझ में? मेमोरी मेमोरी को देखा था।
अब ठीक है।
बस यहाँ से शुरू कर दिया आप, जो टाइम आप चेंज करने का बता रहे थे उसके बाद।
हाँ, तो मैंने टाइम चेंज किया। देन आई हैव शोन यू अ मेमोरी वेयर यू हैव 32 GB मेमोरी DDR2, और you have video memory of 16 MB. Then I went into CPU information. So 64 बिट है ये सर्वर, ये 32 बिट सपोर्ट नहीं करता है सर्वर। और इसकी कोड स्पीड है 260 GHz, बस स्पीड है 1000 MHz। वर्चुअलाइजेशन टेक्नोलॉजी इनेबल भी कर सकते हो, डिसेबल भी कर सकते हो। आपके लैपटॉप्स पे अगर आप लोगों को जब मुश्किल हुई थी या इनेबल या डिसेबल करने की, वो यही ऑप्शन था। और सर्वर पे भी ये ऑप्शन होता है, तो यू हैव टू इनेबल इट इफ यू आर डूइंग अ वर्चुअलाइजेशन। इफ आई एम ओनली इंस्टॉलिंग एन ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम ऑन द सर्वर डायरेक्टली, आई डोंट नीड इट, I don't need to be virtualized. But if I am doing something that is related to the virtualization, then this has to be enabled. तो नंबर ऑफ प्रोसेसर्स मेरे पास 4 है। एक हो गया, 2 हो गया, 3 हो गया, 4 हो गया। 4 प्रोसेसर्स है। नंबर ऑफ कोर्स पर प्रोसेसर देखो आप, नंबर 2 है, देखो 2 है, 2 है। तो दैट मीन्स 8 सर्वर्स है। और अब एक चीज गौर करो, नो इवन इन द फर्स्ट बैच नोबडी क्वेश्चनड मी, इसके अंदर हाइपर थ्रेडिंग नहीं है। ये सर्वर में हाइपर थ्रेडिंग नहीं है। क्यों नहीं है? क्योंकि ये बहुत पुराना सर्वर है। अगर नया सर्वर होगा तो उसके अंदर हाइपर थ्रेडिंग का ऑप्शन होगा। तो इसीलिए मेरे पास इस वक्त सिर्फ 8 प्रोसेसर्स है सर्वर में। अगर हाइपर थ्रेडिंग होता तो इट वुड हैव shown to operating system as 16 servers. Boot sequence Boot sequence is how do you want to boot a server? Using a CD-ROM, using a C drive, or using a floppy drive, flash drive. हार्ड ड्राइव सीक्वेंस मेरे पास जो हार्ड ड्राइव्स है लगे हुए या यूएसबीज है लगे हुए उसकी उसके बारे में है ये फ्लैश ड्राइव बूट सीक्वेंस रिट्राई डिसेबल्ड इंटीग्रेटेड डिवाइसेस रेट कंट्रोलर अगर मैं रेट कंट्रोलर को डिसेबल कर दूं तो वो जो कंट्रोल आर का ऑप्शन आ रहा है ना वो ऑप्शन नहीं आएगा और अब अब यू विल नॉट बी एबल टू एक्सेस इट एट ऑल तो उसके बाद में मेरे को फिर बायोस में आके उसको इनेबल करना पड़ेगा अगर वो चाहिए तो ये देखो यहाँ पे निक्स को भी इनेबल और डिसेबल कर सकते हैं ये देखो नंबर ऑफ
तो रियल टाइम में ये सारी चीजें तो एनेबल होती होंगी मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम।
जरूरी नहीं है कि हर वक्त इनेबल रहना थोड़े चीजें इनेबल नहीं भी रहते जिसका यूज न रहता उन्हें इनेबल नहीं रहता
अच्छा
देखो हर कंपनी एवरी कंपनी विल हैव देयर ओन पॉलिसीज you have to adhere to their policies so their policies might say कि भाई you should do this whenever you are getting a new server this steps has to be done this is nothing but front panel as LCD option I mean user defined string I have designed like Mushtaba server or Roshan something I mean whatever you want to put it there I can put it on the screen subsystem security I mean BIOS password there are so many passwords that you can set up I don't want to nobody do it so I mean I don't bother to do it either but these were the only things that were needed in this now I'm exiting it return to setup discard and exit I just shut the server down again reopened it again to take you into iDrag options. Like, how am I able to access this from a different laptop or a desktop in a same network? So control R is the rate controller, and the control E will take me to what is that I said? Control E will take me to I drag or drag. तुमको ये पार्ट क्लियर लग दिख रहा है या व्हाट इज क्या लिखे आ रहा है यहाँ पे?
नहीं, इतना साफ नहीं दिख रहा है। इसको व्यू में जाके थोड़ा बड़ा करें ना, व्यू में जाके इसको
वो
बड़ा कर सकते हैं।
वो बड़ा नहीं होगा।
नहीं होगा, यूजुअली व्यू में हो जाता है। नहीं हो रहा है।
That's it.
ये कंट्रोल प्लस से भी बड़ा नहीं होगा लाइक थोड़ा?
ये बड़ा नहीं होगा क्योंकि ये ड्रैग है।
चलो ठीक है, ठीक।
यू आर एक्सेसिंग थ्रू ड्रैग। सो एक बार मैं न्यू ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम जब इंस्टॉल कर दूंगा ना, तो देन आई एम गोइंग टू टेक अ मीटिंग फ्रॉम डायरेक्टली फ्रॉम द सर्वर, सो देयर यू कैन सी एवरीथिंग। So what do you see on the screen is the drag. This is how I came into drag, and if देखो IPMI over LAN, अगर मैं इसको ऑफ कर दूं, it's gone. ये पूरा अपनी इंफॉर्मेशन दे रहा है कि ये 2 पॉइंट, ये रिमोट का ये फर्मवेयर है, ये है। उसके बाद में निक्स सिलेक्शन इज डेडिकेटेड, ये भी मैंने सेलेक्ट किया है, शेयर्ड है, फेलोवर है, डेडिकेटेड है। LAN parameters, if you want to see, I was the one who selected this. IP address दिया है मैंने 192.168.0.120।
तो ये कहाँ से लॉग इन किया आपने इसको? सर्वर से, किस जगह से?
सर्वर से। नो। जो मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ था ना, देखो 192.168.0.120 जो मैं लॉगिन कर रहा हूँ, वो आईपी एड्रेस मैंने यहाँ सेट की है। इथरनेट आईपी एड्रेस 192.168.120। और इसी के वजह से देयर आर फ्यू अदर थिंग्स आई एम एबल टू लॉग इन। ये देखो निक को इनेबल किया है यहाँ के, इसका अपना निक है। वर्चुअल मीडिया कॉन्फ़िगरेशन में क्या क्या चाहिए? वर्चुअल मीडिया चाहिए और फ्लैश चाहिए। स्मार्ट कार्ड लॉग ऑन, स्मार्ट कार्ड लॉग ऑन कंपनीज में होता है, where you need to insert a card in a laptop or a computer for secure access. We are not doing it. LAN user configuration, we have enabled it, and there is no
मोस्टली जगह पे कंपनीज में होता है कि आप उसको इंसर्ट करते हैं जब काम करने हो तो।
कंपनीज में होता है।
राइट,
तो
उसको यहाँ से एनेबल करना होगा, फिर वो कर सकते हैं, राइट?
हाँ, अब हमारे पास तो स्मार्ट कार्ड है ही नहीं ना, तो स्मार्ट कार्ड कैसे लगेंगे? Reset to default will reset it completely. We are not doing it. So this is how we are able to go into the drag. Return to
अच्छा, ये जो
setup.
आपने आईपी बनाया हुआ है,
हाँ,
इसको यहाँ से मैं भी एक्सेस कर सकता हूँ या ये सिक्योर किया हुआ है आपने?
नहीं, कोई भी नहीं एक्सेस कर सकते। दिस इज अंडर WAN, it's not in
Oh, this
WAN,
is LAN.
it says LAN.
ओके।
अभी मैं स्विचिंग लेके आने वाला हूँ, मेरे पास एक ही सर्वर है, मैं एक और एक सर्वर लाऊंगा कुछ टाइम के बाद। तो टॉपिक और बढ़ जाएगा. आई मीन व्हेन यू हैव टू सर्वर्स ऑफ सेम, there are so many things that you can do and I can show. Okay, so we are back to Windows.
राजन भाई ये वीडियो का रिकॉर्डिंग तो कर रहे हैं ना, वो हमें देंगे ना?
दे दूंगा. ओके, तो क्या नाम है, उस्मान, हमने सुबह सुबह में यहाँ तक ही किया था, राइट?
बिल्कुल। उस्मान कहाँ तक गया?
हाँ जी यहीं तक ही किया.
अच्छा,
इससे आगे आप करवा रहे हैं?
मैं सोच रहा हूँ कि कल शाम में इसकी क्लास ले लूं,
ठीक है, ठीक है।
क्योंकि मैं
चलो
अब
ठीक है शाम में.
शुरू करूंगा तो बहुत सारे लोगों का छूट जाएगा. और ये आपको समझ में आया? एनीवन, शब्बीर, इफ यू हैव एनी क्वेश्चंस रिगार्डिंग दिस थिंग, व्हाट आई एम गोइंग इनटू ओपन मैनेज में जो मैं जा रहा हूँ, एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर, और पासवर्ड है एडमिन 2000. एंड नहीं आया, क्या हुआ भाई?
ये समझ में तो आ रहा है, लेकिन एक दो दफा रिकॉर्डिंग देखेंगे तो और सही समझ में आएगा फिर.
सही है. तो ये जो है ओपन मैनेज सर्वर एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर, हर कंपनी का अपना एक तरीका होता है जो सर्वर के अंदर जाके जो सेटअप करने की चीजें होते हैं. देयर आर सो मेनी थिंग्स वेयर यू सेटअप थिंग्स लाइक, लेट मी सी. जैसा कि ये इंफॉर्मेशन मैंने ही लिखी है यहाँ पे. दिस इज जनरल काइंड ऑफ सेटिंग्स, सर्वर एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर, यूजर ग्रांट एक्सेस. सेशन मैनेजमेंट, सेशन मैनेजमेंट में ये बता रहा है कि किसने किसने लॉगिन किया है, लॉग्ड इन यूजर कौन है. पूरा लॉग, कब कब क्या हुआ था सर्वर के ऊपर, पूरी इंफॉर्मेशन.
इवेंट लॉग की तरह काम करता है ये.
हाँ, ये इसका सर्वर का इवेंट लॉग. ये देखो, ये पूरी पूरी इसकी समरी, इसका होस्ट नेम है लॉयन 6950, ये नाम मैं ही उसे दिया है। और फिर इसका कितना प्रोसेसर्स है, फिर पूरी इंफॉर्मेशन यू कैन लुक एट इट हियर ऑल्सो। इसका बायोस वर्जन क्या है, फर्मवेयर वर्जन क्या है, सॉफ्टवेयर प्रोफाइल क्या है, क्या ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम क्या है। ये बोल रहा है कि अननोन विंडोज ओएस डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन, डेल ओपन मैनेज सर्वर एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर इसको इस वक्त मैनेज कर रहा।
हर्षन भाई, फर्मवेयर का थोड़ा क्लियर कर दें, क्योंकि ये इन लोगों को भी जब ये जाएंगे कंपनी में तो फर्मवेयर अक्सर अपडेट करने का होता है, तो इनको भी पता हो कि फर्मवेयर क्या चीज है।
Firmware is just a piece of software. I have firmwares here. I have already installed it. So just a minute. Let me see where are they. यहाँ रख कर हूँ firmware. ये मेरी अपनी हार्ड डिस्क है। ये है यहाँ पे firmwares है। I mean जो ये सर्वर को लगते हैं थोड़े बहुत. It's just a software, you have to install it. Like मैं समझो ये BIOS मेरे को डालना चाह रहा हूँ मैं, तो मैं the update package is running on the unsupported new operating system. Do you want to continue? Yes. ये ट्राई करेगा डालने का। ये बता रहा है मुझे कि ये पैकेट वर्जन 1.4.6 इंस्टॉल्ड वर्जन 1.4.6 है, तो यू डोंट नीड इट। एंड हाउ, फ्रॉम वेयर आई गेट दिस, द बिगेस्ट क्वेश्चन इज फ्रॉम वेयर आई गेट दिस। वेरी इजी, आई जस्ट went to Google Dell 6950 drivers. Go to Dell support. ये याहू सर्च अब तक जिंदा भी है। 6950। अब अगर चाह रहे हो उसकी मैनुअल चेक करना तो मैनुअल भी चेक कर सकते, बट दिस इज हाउ यू गो drivers and downloads, and you will see this is for, okay, this is for available updates for Windows 2003, but see these are the operating systems. क्या चाहिए, नोवेल के लिए चाहिए, सूजी के लिए चाहिए, रेड हैट 4 के लिए चाहिए, 4.5 के लिए चाहिए, 6 के लिए चाहिए, 7 के लिए, 5, 5.2, 4.5, रेड हैट एंटरप्राइज 6, सूजी लिनक्स, यस सूजी लिनक्स। तो जितने ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम्स है तकरीबन उसकी बात कर रहा है। उसके बाद में कौन से वाले चाहिए, इंपॉर्टेंट वाले चाहिए या पूरे चाहिए, ऑल। यहाँ है पूरे फर्मवेयर्स, तो मैंने तो यहीं से इंस्टॉल किया। अब जैसा कि फर्मवेयर है, आई वेंट इनटू फर्मवेयर, बोला कि भाई मेरे को फर्मवेयर चाहिए। ये फर्मवेयर मेरे को नहीं लगता A01 है, ये A04 है, मेरा सर्वर A00 है। तो ऐसी मैं इधर गया, बाकी देखो A00 दैट इज माई, लेकिन मेरे पास फाइबर चैनल नहीं है तो मेरे लिए कोई काम का नहीं है। बायोस, बायोस में देखो 1.4.6, और मेरा बायोस क्या था, क्या है ये,
इसमें 6.1 है आपका तो।
ये भी 6.1 इंच है भाई। PE 6950 बायोस में, उससे पहले का भी बायोस है। ये 1.0 आया, उसके बाद में 1.4 आया उस, और ये कब आया था, 26 जून 2008 को आया था। उसके बाद आज तक नहीं आया, क्योंकि ये सर्वर बहुत पुराना है, nobody is using it. I got this server, खासतौर पे खरीद, भाई सर्वर बहुत महंगे होते हैं, it's hell expensive. बट मैं बोला कि कम से कम मैं ये सर्वर खरीद लूं नाइन्थ। ओके, और एक एक सुन लो, ये 9th जन सर्वर है। डेल के अंदर जनरेशन वाइज आता है। डेल इस वक्त डेल में 13th जेन सर्वर चल रहा है। देख रहा हूं कि कहीं हमको इंफॉर्मेशन मिलती है क्या जनरेशन की, या कहीं से मिली तो मैं आपको बताता हूं कि आई डोंट हैव इट भाई। बट दिस इज जेन 9 सर्वर। अच्छा, एक और है कि काम कर सकते हैं जेन 9। नहीं, ये जनरेशन 9 का सर्वर है, इतना है मेरे पास इंफॉर्मेशन। बट कहीं देखा था बहुत अच्छा। फिर देखो, जनरेशन 1 से लेके पूरा यहाँ पे वो बता रहा है, देखो जनरेशन 3, जनरेशन 8, जनरेशन 8 के अंदर का सर्वर मॉडल्स, जनरेशन 9 के मॉडल्स 1950, 2900, 2950, 6950। 4U रैक बोलते, जो मेरे पास रैक है, ये आया था 2006 में। 4 सॉकेट है इसके अंदर सीपीयू, यानी 4 सीपीयूज। ऑप्ट्रॉन 28, क्या बोलते हैं, 8200 या 8300 इसके अंदर सीपीयू है। रैम मैक्सिमम 64 है, मेरे पास तो 32 ही है। और क्या बोलते हैं, रैम टाइप वो सब 16 DDR2 स्लॉट्स है। और सास ड्राइव्स कितने इसके अंदर, ड्राइव्स 5 है। मेरे पास 5 ऑप्शंस है और है 4 ड्राइव्स। जनरेशन 9 के बाद जनरेशन 10 आता। 10 के अंदर देखो अब M600, T605, M605, R805, R900, R905, जनरेशन 11। मैं जनरेशन 11 पे काम करा हुआ हूँ, 12 पे काम करा हुआ हूँ, 13 पे काम करा हुआ हूँ, और जनरेशन 9 पे काम करा हुआ हूँ। Pretty easy, there is nothing in it, it's very easy। मेरे को सिर्फ ये बोलो कि सर्वर क्या होता, और मैं अब तक जो एक्सप्लेन करा वो चीज आपको अच्छी तरीके से समझ में आ गई क्या? जस्ट लेट मी नो whether you understood what I tried explaining. In the beginning I
हाँ,
said,
समझ में आया काफी हद तक।
नहीं नहीं, बाकियों को दूसरों को भी, आई मीन जुनैद, हमजा, उमेर, हेलो, कौन कौन है क्लास में? जुनैद, हमजा,
जी आ गई समझ में इसके।
समझ में आया ना आपको कि
हाँ जी समझ में आ रहा है।
हाउ आई वेंट एंड हाउ द बैक एंट्री इज, व्हाट इज आई ड्रैग। देखो तुम लोग EXXI आई मीन तो VMware सीखे हो, बट वी वी डिडंट हैड अ सर्वर टू शो यू कंप्लीटली। तो थोड़ा थोड़ा कुछ लिंक अप कर सक रहे हो। अगर वो सर्वर पे करना होता तो कैसा होता? अगर VMware you had to install EXXI in it, and then using another server, you put a client on it, and then you access it.
वो इनको बेहतर होगा कि एक दफा आप जो है ना ये एक्सरसाइज में जितने सर्वर्स हैं वो दिखा दें, वर्चुअल मशीन दिखा दें रियल टाइम का।
ये लोगों का VMware क्लास हो गया।
अच्छा,
लोगों का पूरा
VMware में तो इनका VMware में रियल टाइम का दिखाया था सर्वर्स और वर्चुअल मशीन।
मैंने नहीं बताया, वेंकट ने ली है पूरी क्लास, बट आगे चल के मैं बताऊंगा। तो लेट्स डू दिस गाइस, लेट्स डू इट टुमारो द सेम टाइम at 5 o'clock. We will I will ask all the guys from the morning class also join this class, और मैं आपको कल ये मैं जो मेरे पास ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम है ये पूरा मैं डिलीट कर दूंगा। आई एम गोइंग टू रीइंस्टॉल इट कंप्लीटली। I have already, I mean, if you see this, I already have uh, VMs and all that set up, but I'm going to take it off, delete it, and then show you from the scratch. And I'm using a book. I mean, मैं आपको सिर्फ ऐसे ही नहीं करा रहा हूँ। जरा ठहर जाओ, मैं आपको माइक्रोसॉफ्ट की बुक भी दिखा देता हूँ, व्हाट आई एम गोइंग टू फॉलो। आई कैन नॉट गिव यू दैट बुक, लेकिन अगर किसी को चाहिए तो बोलो, आई विल ट्राई टू। मेरे को शायद प्रिंट करके भेजाना पड़ेगा, पता नहीं कैसा।
ईमेल में नहीं आ सकता वो?
नहीं 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 नहीं, वो ऐसा ऐसा एक्सेसिबल करने की चीज नहीं है ये। दैट इज गिवन टू मी बाय माइक्रोसॉफ्ट।
ओ
skillpipe.com.
You know, you can what's it called? Have a screenshot and then email to.
भाई 2000 पेजों की किताब का मैं स्क्रीनशॉट लेके भेजूं? पागल हो जाऊंगा।
नहीं, जो इम्पोर्टेंट है।
एक तो मेरे को पासवर्ड याद नहीं रहता।
आप कंपनी में काम कैसे करते हैं? प्रशांत भाई, ना कंपनी में पासवर्ड यूज होता है, यूजर आईडी पासवर्ड कितना यूज होता है?
हाँ,
कल मेरी एक मीटिंग है तो मैं क्लास में नहीं आ सकता, आप इसकी रिकॉर्डिंग करेंगे ना?
कल कौन सी मीटिंग है?
वो मेरी वो दूसरी मीटिंग है, क्या कहते हैं?
अच्छा,
हाँ,
हाँ मैं रिकॉर्ड तो कर दूंगा।
हाँ तो कर दिए, क्योंकि मैं ज्वाइन नहीं कर सकूंगा, शाम में ही है मेरा। मैं एक्सपेक्ट नहीं कर रहा था आपके यानी कि कल भी क्लास है।
अच्छा, आप ये रिकॉर्ड करके सेंड करेंगे या कोई यूट्यूब पर लिंक?
जैसा कन्वीनियंट रहा। मैं सुबह की क्लास भी रिकॉर्ड तो किया हूँ, क्योंकि आई एम ऑल्सो डूइंग इट फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम। आई हैव नो आइडिया हाउ टू डू इट, आई मीन व्हाट आई एम डूइंग। So this is the book I was referring to. So I'm going to show you all the labs from it. I mean, mostly I mean, whatever I know, I'm going to show you what I can. Everything I cannot, because I only have one server. There are few things that had to be done on two servers. I will explain you which the part which I cannot show you. I will explain you. ये हम मॉड्यूल 1 नहीं करेंगे. We will directly go to module 2, installing and configuring. क्योंकि module 1 is for a big environment. You should have an environment before doing it. So we don't have an environment before doing it. So we'll start from module 2. Okay. शबे ट्राई कर लेना था तुम आने की, क्योंकि इम्पोर्टेंट होगा ये. मैं पूरा इंस्टॉलेशन लेके बताऊंगा और बहुत लंबी क्लास लूंगा.
अच्छा अच्छा, मैं कोशिश करूंगा बिल्कुल.
कोशिश करो, अगर हो सका तो ठीक है, वरना इट्स नॉट एन इशू. रिकॉर्ड तो होगी क्लास.
हाँ, लेकिन रिकॉर्ड जरूर कीजिएगा प्लीज.
रिकॉर्ड इंशाल्लाह
तो
जरूर.
हाँ,
चलो देन, टेक केयर, खुदा हाफिज ऑल ऑफ यू. Before that, if you do you have any questions, Sumair, Junaid or Hamza? मैं एक्सपेक्ट कर रहा हूँ कि ये सेव होना. हाँ, कैसा भी सेव होना. स्क्रीन